The case of Jacqueline Mimi Torres has taken a crazy turn because a lot of things have been uncovered by the police in an unsealed affidavit, and it's just worse than we thought. From the fact that it's been revealed that her own mother, in the company of her boyfriend, actually went on to deny her food for about 2 weeks, also used zip ties to tie her up for bad behavior, and even went to the extent of getting a little girl to pretend like she was rather her daughter when her daughter had actually passed at the time when law enforcement authorities from child services were on a video call trying to confirm if this child was okay. That shows you the dastardly nature of this. But we are going to get into it step by step because there is so much more. Now, the culprits, her mom, her boyfriend, and her auntie are talking. And the details will drive you angry because I'm still struggling to understand how come her own mother is at the center stage of all these bad things being done to this little girl who was just 12 years old and vulnerable. And how come it looks as though almost, if not all, the systems that were supposed to protect and support her failed her, and she was left at the mercy of these monsters. This is an update to the ongoing case of the unfortunate demise of Jacqueline Mimi Torres in the United States of America. Now let's get into the case. So the information available from the unsealed warrants and related documents details alleged mistreatment, neglect, and circumstances surrounding the demise of Jacqueline Mimi Torres Garcia. Now, if you are not familiar with how this story broke, you can check my playlist. The first episode that broke the story is there. You would see how her remains were found in an unoccupied abandoned building by someone, and her remains were in a container. And police are indicating it looks like she's been deceased for about a year. And it turns out her family had not even reported her missing, not to talk of reporting her deceased. And the arrests happened, and we are now where we are with this update. But you can watch the episode on this and you get more details. So, the investigation, as of now, per this update, revealed that Jacqueline likely suffered from prolonged mistreatment and neglect before her demise, which is believed to have occurred in the fall of 2024 while her family was living in Farmington. Now, they conducted an autopsy, and this autopsy reportedly showed no signs of recent trauma or injuries that may be responsible for her demise, but the autopsy equally also confirmed that she was actually malnourished. Now, according to this affidavit detailing the interview with her mother, Karla Garcia allegedly admits to the use of zip ties as punishment for bad behavior and also to withholding food from her own 12-year-old daughter. Now, let that sink in. I'm sure you know zip ties. She uses it to bound her hands when she says she's put up a bad behavior, and then also she denies her food. Which mother does that? I keep saying that most, if not all, women can give birth, but only a few women are actually capable of being mothers. Or let me say, only some women are capable of being mothers. Because giving birth is not really making you a mother. Maybe in another context, someone can still use that word on you. It's about the nurturing spirit in you and how you take care of them. How can a mother be able to deny her kid food for allegedly up to 12 days? And guess what? She was doing that in the company of her boyfriend. Now, let that sink in. And this boyfriend, Jonathan Anita, is, I don't get it. If he is a monster, what about you, the mother, assisting and enabling him to partake in it? So this kid was literally at the mercy of these monsters, and that was very unfortunate. Now, Karla Garcia also went on to tell the police that she and her boyfriend, Jonathan Anita, stopped feeding Jacqueline for approximately 2 weeks before she would pass on. 14 days without food. Imagine. And look at this little skinny girl who is just 12 years old at the time. How much can her body sustain itself without food for 12 days? And the question is, to what end? What was the reason? What was the motive? What were they hoping to achieve? What was the point being proved? What was she getting from it? What thrill was she seeking? What cheap thrill was she seeking? How can a mother be doing that? And I'm sure in those 2 weeks, she, the mother, was eating. Her boyfriend was eating, and they were watching this kid starve for 12 days. Now, Jacqueline was allegedly kept confined in a corner of a room, restrained in zip ties and not being fed. She was reportedly found lying on top of pea pads. Now, her mother, Karla Garcia, told her sister, that's Jacqueline's auntie, that Jacqueline had passed on the 19th of September 2024. Now, police also engaged her auntie, called Jacqueline Garcia. Now, this auntie reportedly described to police patterns of mistreatment and neglect that she witnessed between June and August of 2024, which included the confinement and restraint. This auntie also stated that when she left the home in August of 2024, she knew that her niece, Jacqueline Mimi Torres, was going to be deceased. This auntie later alleges that she found Jacqueline Mimi Torres' remains on October 8, 2025, at which point her sister, who is Jacqueline's mother, reportedly told her that Jacqueline had passed on the 19th of September 2024. Now, the point is, why are you now telling us all this? What were you doing at the time all this was going on? If you were really that concerned, you should have taken an action. But guess what? After Jacqueline Mimi Torres' demise, her mom's boyfriend, called Jonathan Anita, allegedly placed her remains in the basement of their Farmington home at the time. And when the family were relocating to New Britain in 2025, the remains of Jacqueline Mimi Torres, which was in an advanced stage of decomposition, was moved in a storage container and left behind this unoccupied abandoned property, where it was eventually discovered following this anonymous tip. So you could tell that they were struggling to determine what to do with the remains of this kid, and they kept it hidden for about 1 year. Really, I am still struggling to appreciate how these guys were sleeping, waking up and going through their day, knowing that they've done this to a kid, particularly the mother especially. Knowing that you've done this to your child and you are just there. That is cold, you know. There are some people in this world who are so cold. They seek to destroy things, and the fact that they are able to effect the destruction makes them feel so good and powerful. They just can't change. They just can't change. And I don't understand why a mother would take her daughter through this to the end of her life and still not have any remorse or regret to even do the needful in honoring her remains by doing this and leaving this kid's remains in this abandoned building for about a year. Now, the aunt goes on to talk about the fact that she saw that this was going to happen. And I'm like, so what did you do next? And that's the thing. Some people would see certain things and they will say, I wish, and I'm not really a fan of those things. Because if you say you saw something happening and you just wished it will stop, or you pray it stops, the question is, what stopped you from actually getting up and taking an action to stop it? That's what I always ask some people. There are some people you see sitting in a problem and promising to solve the problem in the future. Meanwhile, in the present, at which point they are actually making the promise, they were sitting in the problem and still making a promise to solve it in the future whilst the problem is ongoing in the present. And I still don't understand. If you've come across things like that, let me know in the comment section, because it doesn't make sense to me. Now, the mother, Karla Garcia, also reportedly told the police that she had taken notes about these details, about what she and her boyfriend and her sister were doing to her daughter. She took notes of it on her phone because she was planning to go on a podcast prior to her arrest to share her story. And I don't know. My question is, and what's the basis? So she was detailing all this. What's the word? I'm even struggling. She was detailing all these things that she was doing to her daughter, all these wicked things that she was doing to her daughter in the company of her boyfriend and her sister, and detailing and chronicling them on her phone, because according to her, she was going to go on a podcast and tell her story. For what reason? Is it to confess, or it's to present it as a case from the perspective of somebody else other than her and make some money? I don't appreciate this. And it looks like something a criminal would say as an afterthought. Or maybe that was her conscience fighting her and she trying to find a way to maneuver and escape. But all in all, I just don't understand this case. And the case is still ongoing. And as it looks, particularly, I think that this is going to be an open and shut case for the prosecution. I don't see how they can get the full sentence they would want to go for. And I won't be surprised if they are going for a life sentence or a death sentence. Particularly for the boyfriend, I don't see him enjoying time in prison, because it looks like even when he was just in jail, some hands were put on him. When you are found guilty of unaliving a kid, even the fellow inmates you would go to meet would have a bone to pick with you. That's the thing. Because they are so innocent, you shouldn't be able to take them through certain things. And looking at the fact that these guys were able to do this to 12-year-old Jacqueline Torres when she was most vulnerable and needed basic care, just food, shelter, and protection. And they were able to deny her that for 12 days. No food for 12 days. Wow. Nah, that's wicked. And I'm expecting that it's very likely the mom is going to get the harshest punishment, because it looks like she's the first person in the chain of responsibility. Some of these things also come as a result of the broken home, because she was separated from the father, and some way, somehow, she won custody. And I was looking into it and asking myself, on what basis did she win the custody? Who was doing the checks? Who was coming in to check frequently? Because if this was it, then it can't be it. And it looks like this may have been going on for some time, but it climaxed in 2024 ultimately when her demise happened. It's almost as though they were trying to see the worst thing they could do and the extent to which the little girl could survive it. It's very unfortunate. But let's see how the case ends. I tip my hats off To the person who gave the anonymous tip, I tip my hats off to investigators for how quickly they are fast-tracking this case. And I tip my hats off to the entire legal system, hoping that they do justice for the memory of Jacqueline Mimi Torres Garcia. May she rest in peace. You can commiserate with her family. Just go to the comment section and leave an RIP. Catch you on the next one. Stay safe out there.